In 2007. A Portuguese man by the name of João Carlos discovered an underwater site that was full of treasures from a lost ship. The wreck was found at a depth of over 300 feet, with the goods still intact after spending more than 400 years underwater. Joe's discovery quickly became the talk of the town. He was offered a huge amount of money to keep quiet about his findings. But then he mysteriously disappeared. What happened to him? And why did those who wanted to buy his silence end up killing him? Welcome to my channel, and today let's find out the truth behind the missing man and the Portuguese galleon. The year is 1511, and the mighty galleon Flor is sailing across the high seas. She was built in the Cochin shipyards in India. At that time, the Portuguese had established a strong presence in India and were heavily involved in trading activities there. This particular ship was specifically designed for the purpose of transporting valuable goods, such as spices and other luxury items, back to Portugal from India. The ship left India on March 8, 1511, and sailed towards the coast of China. It had around 250 men on board, including soldiers and sailors. But the ship never made it to China. In fact, she never made it anywhere close to Portugal either. On April 1511, the mighty galleon struck an underwater rock near the Indonesian island of Borneo. The impact caused a massive hole in the hull of the vessel, and the ship started to sink. All the men on board desperately tried to bail out the water, but the efforts were futile. Within no time, the vessel went down with all hands. There were no survivors. The legend of Flor and her immeasurable treasure soon took its place among seafaring tales. The location of the wreck remained a secret until the 19th century, when rumors began circulating once again about the whereabouts of the lost ship. Fast forward to 2007, rumors turned into reality when João Carlos discovered the remains of the galleon at a depth of over 300 feet off the coast of Indonesia. You see, João was a businessman based in Lisbon, Portugal. He was passionate about maritime history and spent most of his time searching for artifacts from lost ships. One day, while scouring through old documents at a Portuguese archive, he came across a logbook of the Flor. It mentioned that the ship had sunk in the waters of southern Sumatra. João gathered a team of divers and set sail for Indonesia. After weeks of searching, they finally discovered the remains of the Flor. João was stunned to see the condition of the wreck. The entire cargo of the ship was still intact, including gold bars, silver ingots, boxes of spices, and much more. News of the discovery spread like wildfire and reached the ears of some very powerful people. These people offered Joe a hefty amount of money to keep the find a secret, so that they could come and take a cut of the treasure for themselves. João rejected their offer though, as he intended to share the wealth with the Portuguese government. But what he didn't know was that these people were not willing to walk away empty-handed. They had killed many men in the past to protect their ill-gotten gains, and they were not going to start with Jet. Realizing that his life was in danger, he decided to leave Portugal and settle in Thailand instead. However, the bad guys had already caught wind of his plan and were one step ahead of him. When Joe arrived in Thailand, he was greeted by a group of armed men who forced him to board a boat. They took him to an isolated part of the ocean and threw him in. Some claim that they simply pushed him off the boat and watched as he disappeared beneath the waves. Others say that they tied heavy chains around his ankles and dropped him in the ocean like an anchor. Whatever the case, none of them were willing to part ways with the information that could lead them to the lost treasure. A local fisherman claimed to have seen a man struggling in the water and tried to help him. But by the time he realized that it was Joe and pulled him out of the water, it was too late. The man had already drowned. This tale has been passed down from generation to generation, leaving many to believe that it's just another myth. But recent discoveries may prove otherwise. A retired Portuguese naval officer named Rui Matinho Amaral revealed that he, too, had stumbled upon the wreckage of the Flor de la Mar. Rui was part of a secret salvage operation commissioned by the Portuguese government in 1981. Like Joe, he also found the ship at a depth of 300 feet. However, due to technological limitations at the time, he was unable to recover any artifacts. Instead, he took photographs and left the wreck untouched. Unfortunately, the film containing the photographs got damaged, which makes it impossible to confirm that it was indeed the Flor de la Mar. To make matters worse, Rui was ordered to keep the mission a secret, which he did until his retirement. When he finally decided to come clean about his experience, the government threatened to charge him with divulging state secrets. To this day, nobody knows whether Rui was telling the truth or just making up stories for attention, but the fact that the government reacted so violently suggests that he might be telling the truth. If he had lied, they wouldn't have to go to such great lengths to silence him. But if Rui's story is to be believed, why haven't the Portuguese authorities gone back to retrieve the treasure? Well, it turns out that they did try. A few months after Rui's mission, a team of Portuguese Navy divers returned to the site where the Flor de la Mar had sunk, but they too came back empty-handed. As it turned out, the wreck had been plundered by a group of Filipino looters, and by the time the Portuguese Navy arrived, there was nothing left to salvage. However, that doesn't mean that the treasure was lost forever. You see, before the galleon sank, the captain ordered the crew to throw most of the valuables into the sea to lighten the ship's load. In theory, this meant that the treasure was lost forever. But in reality, many artifacts probably survived the sinking and rested at the bottom of the ocean. That's exactly what happened to the silver ingots and gold coins that were being transported on the ship. Some of them were found by modern-day explorers, while others remain hidden beneath the waves waiting to be discovered. One of the biggest problems explorers face is locating the wreck. After all, the ocean is so vast that finding a needle in a haystack seems like an easy task compared to finding the Flor de la Mar. But thankfully, technology has come a long way since the days of old. Today, explorers have access to advanced sonar systems that can scan the ocean floor and create detailed maps. With the help of these systems, they can identify potential sites of interest and dive down to investigate further. Once they have located the wreck, the next challenge is recovering the treasure. The depth at which the galleon rests makes this particularly tricky, as it lies at a depth of over 300 feet. This means that divers cannot reach it without specialized equipment. Explorers have to use remotely operated vehicles or ROVs to explore the wreck and recover artifacts. These vehicles are equipped with cameras and robotic arms that allow them to manipulate objects and bring them to the surface. However, due to the immense pressure at such a depth, ROVs can only carry small items to the surface. Explorers have to make multiple trips to recover larger or heavier objects. Another major challenge is the condition of the wreck. After spending more than 400 years underwater, the galleon is likely to be in poor condition. Many of the artifacts may be broken or damaged, which makes recovering them even more difficult. Despite these challenges, explorers continue to search for the remaining treasure of the Flor de la Mar. They are driven by the hope of finding something valuable and adding it to the list of recovered artifacts. So far, they have found several items, including gold coins, silver ingots, and ceramic plates. While these finds are not as valuable as the rumored treasure, they provide a glimpse into the life and times of the galleon. Each artifact tells the story of a bygone era and helps us better understand the history of maritime exploration. So, who really killed João Carlos? Sadly, we may never know for sure, but one thing is certain: greed can drive people to do unimaginable things. The discovery of the Flor de la Mar's treasure would have changed Joe's life forever, but in the end, it cost him his life. His disappearance remains a mystery and a warning to those who seek fortune at the bottom of the sea. Hi, I'm here. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe for more updates.